Just a quick one. I talk about using turning point in my stuff all the time, and these are some of the questions I ask growers when I go out, whether or not, no matter what presentation I'm given, I can always ask these questions. This one, do you know how to calculate nitrogen uptake efficiency? Yes or no? And this is the results from the direct seed conference when I gave it. 35% of them said no, or 35 said yes, 65% of them said no. So it looks that tells me what type of learning curve we still have to go and where we need to get this educational out to into the growers' hands. And if I go to different regions, I get different answers. Well, the other questions I've asked is, do you calculate and use nitrogen uptake efficiency to make recommendations? It's a different question. Now, we asked them earlier if they know how to do the calculation. Sometimes it's easy to know how to do it, but this is actually asking them, do you actually use the calculation to make nitrogen recommendations? And we get a different answer. 21% of them said yes and that they used this, and 79% say no. So once again, we got some more learning curves yet to go out there as far as getting growers to utilize this technology to help improve their nitrogen recommendations. What about this one? This is one that it's a critical piece, and it's often not mentioned in soft white wheat production. Do you request protein on your soft white wheat? Most warehouses do not provide in their grain reports back to growers the proteins on their soft whites. They do on the hard reds, but not on soft whites. So this one, the grower has to specifically ask for at their warehouse, and it's a yes or no. And so right there, if someone says they're doing the calculations on it, and I can kind of go back and troubleshoot it. If they say they can, and they know how to calculate, and they're calculating, but then yet they mention no here, they're probably lied to me. So, but you can see that 43% of them are asking for protein, which is a critical piece. This is one of the first steps for farmers to utilize this calculation, this tool. This is the first piece they need. I know at Ritzville Warehouse, actually now they've had enough growers coming in that they provide it now to all the farmers, which when you talk about impacts and has your program reached a certain level, that's a critical impact. And that's how I assess it, not specifically asking the growers, but talking to the warehouses and finding out how many people are requesting this type of information. And as soon as I heard that Ritzville Warehouse actually just started providing it to everyone, that's a huge aha. So, and this was another question, trying to figure, for farmers to make a change, they need a carrot. And this is one of them right here. Soft white wheat maximum yield is achieved at what % grain protein? Right now, I'm putting instead of just context of improving your nitrogen use efficiency, saving this or that, and leaching in the groundwater. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this and grain protein and maximum yield, which is hitting their pocketbook. They understand this one in a hurry. And where is it achieved? And they're not too bad on this one. Right around here. So that's a piece as well as where we have to go with our education and outreach. Here's another question. I'm very comfortable using soil samples to make nitrogen recommendations. Now I got a whole list of them from agree to strongly disagree. And for the most part, they feel pretty comfortable using a soil sample to make a nitrogen recommendation. And I always talk about that being just one of the pieces to make a nitrogen recommendation. So it tells me they feel a little bit comfortable with it, but we still got a lot of steps we can take to improve here. Why is nitrogen uptake efficiency important? For a farmer, nitrogen fertilizer has the single biggest impact on the farmer's yield and their overall profitability. So talking in those terms really helps get the point across. This is one of the things I always really encourage farmers when looking at nitrogen and how it goes. I have on here, as a grower, we know how much nitrogen we're putting on, how much NP, K, and S we're putting on in the field every year. And so that's like a deposit. And then right here, we're filling up a semi full of grain. How many pounds of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur you're hauling off? And I kind of relate it to their checkbook. You know how much money you put into your checking account? You know how much money your wife took out of your checking account? I'm kidding. That's a farmer joke. And then you should know your balance. And your soil samples are nothing but your bank statement. Your tissue samples and your soil tests are nothing but your bank statement. You know how much you put on. If that's not matching up, if your bank statement's not matching up with what your balance is, you're calling your bank. If this isn't matching up, you better be calling someone and figuring out what's wrong in your system. If your end deposits, your credits are not equaling your balance, what's wrong? So it gives them a great thing to troubleshoot here. Now, we have a lot of information there, but how do they get that information? That's one of the reasons we put together we host this on our small grain webpage, the nitrogen calculator. All I need is the simple information: soil test nitrogen, applied nitrogen, what my yield was, 21 bushel, and my protein, 16.4%. And the calculator goes through and provides how much nutrients, that NPK and S, was taken up in the straw, or in the whole plant, in the grain, and then in the straw. So it tells you how much, as a grower, you've exported from your field, which is a piece growers never had access to for the most part. So it lays that out, and it is pretty simple. And this is the output from it. Uptake, 45 pounds. Nitrogen removed, we removed 32 pounds from that field. We should have approximately 123 pounds remaining nitrogen. So when you have that information and you get a soil sample in the spring, or your next soil sample, should come pretty close to that. And our nitrogen uptake efficiency was really, really bad last year at 27%. We like to have that over 50%. And then when you say 27%, start taking figures out why and what happened. It just gives you another layer of information. This just shows the soil sample a couple months after harvest, before we seed it to wheat. Some soil test right here, 136 pounds. What did I say we had? What did the calculation come out to? 123. And my soil sample shows 136. That's not too bad. If this was showing 47, 58, or 279, I'd be really nervous. And I'd start asking why. So I don't have to ask why in this case. One of the things I really want with nitrogen uptake efficiency, if you don't measure it, how can you change it? This is a great baseline for any grower looking at their fertilizer operation. Is nitrogen fertilizer your most limiting factor? If you're looking at utilizing precision ag, is your precision nitrogen application feasible? If you're having fields that have 50, 60% nitrogen use efficiency, you may not see the best return on your investment in implementing precision ag. If you're down around that 27% consistently, you have a great opportunity right there. And once again, to change it, make sure you're doing those things in the correct, or making sure you're changing the correct thing. Is fall fertilization feasible? Once again, with some growers. So with that, any questions? We've got 3 minutes left for questions.
Does your calculator take into account the amount of vegetation versus just the amount of grain, or does it assume that at a certain bushel you're going to have all the same?
It makes a basic assumption that all wheat has kind of the same. You know, obviously this wheat would give me a different. It's that tall. It would give me a different reading than a semi-dwarf. You're right, but it's making the basic assumption everything's the same. Okay, this is our small grains website right here. We'll make it big. Okay, and the tools go across the bottom. Some of the other tools we have to go with this is variety selection, nitrogen application calculators, spring yield calculators. All these really help to improve the whole system as far as nitrogen application. And then this one here is the one I'm discussing, the nitrogen. Okay, crop type, DNS, the yield, 21. I wanted to keep this simple. Working with growers, it needs to remain simple for them. Computers can sometimes scare them a little bit. 91 here, and that was from our soil test. And then nitrogen applied, we put on 77 pounds, calculate, and if I can scroll down, and right here's the results. So it shows how much nitrogen was totally taken up, how much is in the straw, how much is in the grain, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, chloride. So growers can then understand how much they put on, how much they hauled off, and what the remaining balance should be. You can see the nitrogen uptake efficiency pounds, it took 8 pounds per bushel. Most time DNS, they want 3.6 pounds, really high. Potential nitrogen left in the soil, 123 pounds. So then they can take that, you hit the print on this form actually prints out nicely, and then can be stapled to a grower's soil test and put in the file. So, thank you. Yes?
Oh, I just had a quick question. Are you going to do anything with the data that they are querying, like saved searches, and analyze what are the likely searches to be made?
I haven't specifically on that, but
Because maybe
Maybe.
they're over applying habitually or something. I don't know, and you could
and
find
that's
it
why
from that
I want
data
this
set.
to be is a tool to help them figure out whether or not they're over applying or under.
Learning if they're over-applying.
Oh, if I can go through and steal their data from them to say no.
Not steal.
I know that's a harsh word, but yes, I haven't, and I haven't really wanted this to be a tool for that, but that could be something we could use with it in the future. Yeah. Data mining, not stealing. Sorry.
Well, I have a question, not knowing that much about nitrogen fertilization, but I guess I would have thought there would be potentially a lot of loss through runoff. How does that come in here?
A lot of loss through runoff.
Or is that not true?
So, I often like to joke about in our area, that dryland area, I wish I could leach nitrogen because it takes moisture, and the moisture is often limiting, so we don't have too many opportunities. But you look at that, I mean, on the nitrogen use uptake efficiency, 50% is good. So that's 50% that's not being utilized. That's either lost for either volatilized out, leached out, or just didn't get uptaken by the plant for some reason. So that's what really what I want farmers to help minimize any potential. And when you start seeing numbers like this and start looking at some of the reasons why, this gives you a system to go back and troubleshoot to find out where your nitrogen is going. Are you leaching it out, or what's going on? So it's just another tool to really help to keep track of that. So, thank you.